Hello everyone, in this video we will talk about yoga philosophy. We will discuss the psychology and the epistemology of yoga philosophy in full details in this video. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Let us get introduced to yoga philosophy. As we had discussed earlier in our video related to Sankhya philosophy, that yoga philosophy is very closely related with Sankhya philosophy. Yoga philosophy represents the practical path for the realization of the self, whereas the Sankhya emphasizes the attainment of knowledge of self by means of concentration and meditation. So we can very commonly say this, that yoga philosophy is the practical version of Sankhya philosophy. While discussing Sankhya philosophy, we saw that Sankhya philosophy does not give us any kinds of rules and regulations in order to attain mukti, moksha, or liberation. Sankhya philosophy gives us a descriptive knowledge about what dukh is and how dukh is to be eliminated in order to attain liberation. But the process of overcoming these three dukkhas that is mentioned under Sankhya philosophy is given in the Yoga Sutras. The main difference between Sankhya and Yoga philosophy is that Sankhya philosophy accepts only 25 elements, whereas Yoga philosophy accepts 26 elements. And this difference exists because Yoga philosophy accepts in God, whereas Sankhya philosophy does not accept God. Like we all already know, that sage Patanjali is regarded as the founder of yoga system. Patanjali's Yoga Sutras are the first systematic and authoritative presentations of yoga in both its theoretical and practical aspects. It was sage Patanjali who gave us a vivid description of the yoga system in both theory and in practice, and this description is known as Yoga Sutras. We will discuss about the Yoga Sutras in full details as we move forward in our video. The main aim of yoga is complete cessation of all kinds of suffering, that is sorrow, and its root cause, ignorance. And this state of being where no sorrow can affect a person is known as moksha, mukti, or liberation. Like we discussed in our previous videos, that Sankhya philosophy talks about three kind of dukkhas, and these three dukkhas are to be eliminated in order to achieve mukti or moksha. And that is the main purpose of yoga philosophy, to help us achieve moksha, mukti, or liberation by various practices. And the primary practice that is supported by yoga philosophy is the practice of meditation, and along with it some other bodily pranayams. And other than this, there are certain other objectives of yoga philosophy, which are health, happiness, harmony, spiritual quest, and personality development. Along with the attainment of moksha and mukti, we also practice yoga as a philosophy in order to attain good health, in order to stay happy, in order to attain harmony within our body and soul, in order to get spiritually enlightened, and for the overall personality development. Now that we have seen a brief introduction of yoga philosophy, let us closely look at the organization of the Yoga Sutras that is given by sage Patanjali. The total number of Patanjali Sutras is 195, and it is divided into four parts. The first part is Samadhipad, and it constitutes of 51 sutras. It deals with the nature and methods of yoga in its various forms. It describes the various modifications of the organs, including chitta. The second pad is Sadhana Pad. It constitutes of 55 sutras, and it explains the causes of sufferings and how to eradicate them. It talks about the law of karma and human bondage. So Sadhanapad gives us a vivid description of the various sufferings that a human being faces in his or her life, and what are the ways using which we can stop to feel affected by these sufferings. It also explains to us how the cycle of karma works and how human life is binded to the circle of karma. Then the third part of the Yoga Sutras is known as the Vibhuti Pad, and it has 56 sutras. It elucidates the concept of how to achieve the supranormal powers and in which ways yoga helps us. So in the Vibhuti Pad, we get a very vivid description of how the superpowers that are achieved through practicing of yoga will help us in order to live a more fulfilling and complete life. And finally, we have the Kaivalya Pad, which has 33 sutras. It describes the nature of liberation and the spiritual union with the Supreme Soul or Self. So, in the Kaivalya Pad, we get a description of how and what mukti or moksha really is, and how this liberation of the soul, that is also known as mukti or moksha, is going to help us in order to achieve a spiritual union with the Supreme Self, that is also referred to as God in the Yoga Sutra. Now we will move forward and we will discuss about the psychology of yoga, that is how yoga philosophy describes psychology or sees psychology in its philosophical norms. The basic concept on which the yoga psychology is built is the concept of Chitta Vritti Nirodh. And Chitta Vritti Nirodh refers to calming the mind through the meditative techniques of Patanjali Yoga. So we will see a word by word description of this phrase, that is Chitta Vritti Nirodh, and then we will try to understand what it really means. So like you can see over here, Chitta means consciousness or mind stuff, Vritti means fluctuations, and Nirodh means suppression or restraining. So whenever we stop our mind or our consciousness from fluctuating and are able to garner our full focus on one particular object or one particular thing or one particular idea, that is known as Chitta Vritti Nirodh. So in short, Chitta Vritti Nirodh basically means giving full attention and concentrating our full consciousness on one object and one particular time, instead of making our consciousness fluctuate from one point to another. And this Chitta Vritti Nirodh can be attained through practicing the various meditative techniques of Patanjali Yoga. And this is the basis of the psychological development of yoga philosophy. And based on this, the various meditative techniques are mentioned in the Patanjali Yoga. In order to attain Chitta Vritti Nirodh, the Chitta, that is our consciousness or mind, passes through various stages, and these stages have been described according to Yoga Sutra. And the 5 stages in which the Chitta is described is discussed here. First, we need to see that the Chitta is also known as the Chitta Bhumi, and the 5 stages through which the Chitta Bhumi passes in order to attain yoga, that is Chitta Vritti Nirodh. The first uh, stage is known as Shipta. So it is also referred to as restlessness in English. And in this stage, the Chitta is very distributed and attached with worldly objects. Then the next stage is known as Mudha, which we call torpid in English. And in this stage, tamas dominates the other 2 gunas, that is sattva and rajas. We talked about the gunas in our video related to Sankhya philosophy. And during the stage of Mudha, the tamas dominates the other 2 gunas of sattva and rajas, which means that the mind or the chitta becomes very much lethargic or lazy, and becomes very inactive and does not want to perform any function. Then comes the third stage, and from this stage we can say that the movement towards Chittavritti Nirodh starts. And this stage is called as Vikshipta, which we say distracted in English. Here the Sattva gun starts to dominate the other two gunas, and in this stage yoga begins, and Chitta tries to attain God or Supreme Soul. So here the Chitta Bhumi becomes a bit more open towards the acceptance of God, and finally it starts to get more active and tries to attain yoga. Then comes the fourth stage, that is called as ekagra or concentrated. And in this stage, the chitta is fixed to some object due to the sattva preponderance. So the sattva gun becomes so heavy that finally the chitta or the mind or the consciousness, it starts to get more and more focused with time, and it starts to act in a very concentrated manner. And then finally comes the stage of Niruddh, which is also called as restricted stage. And in this stage, the impressions remain in the chitta after the cessation of modifications. So even after the various modifications that the brain or the chitta goes through, the impressions still remain in the chitta, and it becomes absolutely concentrated, and the brain becomes absolutely restricted and doesn't focus on anything other than the achieving of yoga and the achieving of God. Now we will look at the modifications of chitta. The chitta gets modified or changes and acquires consciousness due to the reflection of the purusha or the self. While talking about Sankhya philosophy, we discussed that how Purusha is the ultimate consciousness or the divine consciousness, and because Purusha passes on its reflection of consciousness into the Chitta gradually acquires an awareness through which it wants to modify itself in order to become even more better. But the real nature of Chitta is material, and the modification of Chitta are of five types. These are pramana, that is right cognition; viparyaya, that is wrong cognition; vikalpa, that is imagination; nidra, that is sleep; and smriti, which is memory. Let us quickly discuss these in more details. First, let us talk about pramana, that is right cognition. So these are perception, inference, and shabd. In the case of perception, the chitta through sense organs, that is both external and internal, comes into contact with external objects of the world and assumes its form. While discussing Sankhya philosophy, we talked about how Sankhya philosophy accepts only three forms of pramana out of all the six pramanas that are there in the Indian schools of logic. And here yoga philosophy also accepts these three pramanas, that is perception, inference, and shabd. And in case of perception, especially, what happens is that chitta, through its sense organs, that is the mind and all the other five sense organs that we have in our body, it comes into contact with all the external objects and is able to assume or develop an awareness of the form of these external objects. Then comes the stage of viparya, which is known as wrong cognition. So viparya is knowing a thing different from what it really is, and it includes doubt or uncertain cognition. So whenever we are not sure about what is the reality of one thing, or we are uncertain about the reality of something, and we do not really take into consideration the real meaning of a thing, that is known as viparya. Then comes vikalp, which is known as imagination. It is the knowledge in which the object is known but the object does not exist. Thus, it is treated as merely a verbal cognition. So, we can think of vikalp as an idea or as a concept which is entirely mental and it doesn't exist in any physical form. That is why Vikalp is also treated as a verbal cognition, because we cannot show someone imagination, or we cannot show someone an idea. We have to tell people this idea, and through this verbal cognition other people get to know about this idea, and that is why Vikalpa is also treated as a verbal cognition. Then comes the step of Nidra, which is known as sleep. It refers to deep dreamless sleep, and this is the evidence that yoga nidra helps relieve stress. So yoga, along with all the other asanas and all the other meditative techniques, gives absolute importance to the factor of having good dreamless sleep, and that is what is discussed in this point. Then comes the step of smriti, and it is referred to as memory. Memory or smriti is the recapitulation or recollection of past experiences. So, whatever past experiences are there, when we have a memory of those things and we recognize these memories, that step is known as smriti. Now, we will talk about the most important aspect of yoga philosophy, because this is a topic which is very important from the examination point of view. Many questions are often asked from this particular topic. But before we move further and start discussing this topic, I would like to give you a gentle reminder to please like this video and subscribe to our channel if you appreciate this video. So, to get rid of the earthly sufferings and to remove the ignorance that exists within us, we have to conquer our sense organs, mind, and even our bodily act. So, just like we saw while discussing Sankhya philosophy, that Sankhya philosophy talks about eliminating the various sufferings that afflicts human being, which are discussed under the topic of dukkha in the Sankhya philosophy. So, by eliminating these sufferings, we can really achieve a more fulfilling life, and the steps doing which we can eliminate these sufferings exists of conquering our own sense organs, including our mind, and being able to develop a absolute control over our bodily acts as well. And in order to do this, yoga philosophy gives us 8 ways, and this is known as the eightfold path of yoga philosophy, or the Ashtanga yoga. The eightfold path consists of yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharan, dhyan, and samadhi. We will discuss about all these 8 points one by one as we move forward in our video. Under the Ashtanga yoga, the first point that we are going to discuss is yama. So yama refers to the control of mind, body, and speech. And yama consists of 5 points. The first is ahimsa, or non-violence. It means to accept the principle of non-violence. It propagates not to kill or do any injuries to any living beings. Then comes the point of satya, that is truth. So satya encourages us to speak the truth and adhere to truth even in our thinking. So if we follow satya, we cannot even think about lying inside our own mind. Then comes the third yama, that is asteya, or non-stealing. This includes both not desiring on others' wealth and not stealing any goods from others. So asteya helps us to become self-sufficient, humble, and at the same time, it stops us from becoming jealous of the wealth that other people have. Then comes the fourth yama, that is brahmacharya, or abstinence. It is also known as celibacy. Here, one needs to control his or her senses towards the attachment of heavenly pleasures. It restrains somebody from having a sexual life. And finally, the fifth yama is referred to as aparigraha, or non-accumulation. It says not to accept and aspire for any sorts of unnecessarily lavish things for life enjoyments like gold, diamond, etc. So Aparigraha talks about making a person more humble and not to waste time, energy into desiring things which are unnecessary for making our life more lavish, like gold and diamond, and to live a very simple and common life. After the yama, we will talk about niyama. Niyama speaks about the rules for possessing good conduct. There are five niyamas, and the five niyamas are: first, we have swach, which is referred to as cleanliness. It says about cleanliness, which includes both external cleaning, example bath, pure diet, cutting and cleaning of hair, nail cutting, etc., and internal cleaning, that is maintaining friendliness, empathy, happiness, smiling, etc. Then comes the second niyam, that is santosh or contentment. It is understood as contentment. It means to be satisfied with yourself and with whatever you attain or possess. In other words, what you are, you must be happy with that. The third niyam is tapas or penance. Tapas or penance includes the power of tolerance. To tolerate extreme and maximum cold and heat, one needs to do the hard practices. Then comes the fourth niyam of Swadhyay, that is self-study. It says one needs to study religious scriptures to develop his or her spiritual knowledge. It is considered as one of the good principles to possess good conduct. And the final niyama is called as Ishwar Pranidhan, which refers to surrendering to God. It says to always remember that God is the supreme authority and is almighty. One should completely surrender himself or herself to God. So these are the five niyamas maintaining which, according to the yoga philosophy, one can possess a good self conduct, which will help him or her to attain a good and sustainable life and gradually result into chitta vritti nirodh or attainment of yoga. The next step that we will talk about under the Ashtanga Yoga is asana. So asana is an advanced stage of yoga. It speaks about doing various bodily postures which helps to retain concentration of chitta and even helps to control the body as well as mind. So like we all know, there are various types of asanas, and among them a few includes Padmasana, Shirshasana, Chakrasana, etc. Then under the Ashtanga Yoga comes the step of pranayam. It is the fourth stage in the practice of yoga. Pranayam is understood as control of breath. It suggests that practicing pranayam helps the agent to control his or her inhaling and exhaling of breath, and this control over the inhaling and exhaling of breath helps the chitta to remain concentrated and focused. Through pranayam, one can control his or her body by doing some postures, and these postures makes the practitioner feel healthy and good. So both in asana and pranayam, we talk about practicing various postures in order to feel good, in order to help to control our chitta, which is called as the consciousness. But the basic difference between asana and pranayam is that in asana we only perform various types of bodily postures through which we try to control our concentration. But in pranayam, we primarily focus on controlling our breathing technique through which we are able to remain more concentrated and focused. The next point under the Ashtanga Yoga is the point of Pratyahar. So in this stage, the agent should control his or her sense organs for not being attached by the worldly objects. So one who follows Pratyahar should not be attached to the world around us, should leave behind the Maya that is associated with the world of worldly objects that is around us, and become more secluded and lead a more simpler and humble life. Then comes the point of dharana under the Ashtang mark, and in this stage the agent keeps his or her mind continuously engaged in one object. So through the practicing of dharana, a person tries to keep concentrating on one object for a very long time instead of making his or her mind fluctuate from one object to another throughout a span of time. Then comes the point of dhyana. In this stage, the aspirant becomes successful to remain concentrated on an object for a longer time. So, after the practicing of dharana, when the aspirant is finally able to remain concentrated on an object for a very long time, that becomes the stage of dhyan. And this is the stage when it is believed that one is able to attain fuller concentration as compared to the previous stages. In the last stage of the Ashtanga Yoga, we talk about Samadhi. The eighth and the last step of yoga is known as Samadhi. This is the apex stage of yoga, which means that this is the highest stage of yoga, and in this stage, the aspirant negates the differences between subject and object and realizes the true nature of the chitta. Samadhi is of two kinds, that is, samprajnat or conscious meditation and asamprajnat or consciousness meditation. So, samprajnat or conscious meditation, in this form of samadhi, the aspirant becomes aware of his or her concentration. And in asamprajnat or consciousness meditation, this is the highest form of samadhi, and in this stage, there will be no distinction found between subject and object. So, while practicing the samadhi in the samprajnat form of meditation, the person who is meditating is aware of his existence and is aware of the fact that he is different from what he is trying to achieve. If the aspirant is trying to achieve God, or if the aspirant is trying to achieve yoga, then under the samprajnat form of meditation, the aspirant is aware of the difference that exists between himself and herself and God or yoga. But in the asamprajnat form of meditation, this distinction does not exist anymore. The subject, that is, the person who is involved in the asamprajnat form of meditation, his mind becomes one with the super consciousness of God or the super consciousness of Purush. And this is the highest stage of yoga, which is known as asamprajnat samadhi or asamprajnat meditation. This is all for yoga philosophy. Stay tuned to our channel for more. We will bring more and more educational videos for you. Stay connected and please hit the like and subscribe button to show us your support.